Hello, I'm Toy Degree, the Family and Consumer Education Agent with Rowan County Cooperative Extension, and I am back today with a new recipe. Today we're going to make lentil vegetable soup. So, before I tell you about the recipe, let me go ahead and get my pot ready so that when I'm finished we can get started. So I'm going to heat my pot up and I'll tell you why. The recipe calls for 2 tablespoons of olive oil, 3 carrots diced, 1 medium yellow onion diced, 4 cloves of garlic diced, 32 ounces of low sodium vegetable broth, 2 14.5 cans of diced tomatoes, 1 1/4 cup of dried green lentils, rinsed and picked over, 1 zucchini diced, 2 cups of packed kale or spinach chopped, 1 1/2 teaspoons of dried basil, 1/2 teaspoon of dried oregano, 1/2 teaspoon of dried thyme, and salt and pepper to taste. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to heat our olive oil in a large pot, which is why I went ahead and got it started. So I'm going to measure out 2 tablespoons of olive oil and put it into our pot to get warm. Here are a few facts about olive oil. The first one is that we encourage you to buy it in a colored bottle, something dark like this, and only to buy as much as you're going to be able to use in that time frame because olive oil will turn rancid. So just a few facts. So my olive oil is in and I'm starting to smell it because you can smell it and it is heating up. And so what I'm going to do is into my medium pot over medium to low heat, I'm going to add in my carrots which have been diced. And notice that my carrots are pretty much consistent. A dice is different from a chop. A dice is pretty much you doing it small pieces, pretty much consistent, and that's so that things will cook at the same time. So into my pot will go my carrots, and you hear a slight sizzle, my carrots, and my onions. And I'm going to saute those for about 2 minutes. And that's just to soften them up. So I'm going to begin to stir those around for about 2 minutes to kind of soften them up. And I think I'm going to turn it up just a bit. And so you just keep that moving around for about 2 minutes. And you can hear it begin to really sizzle now. I bumped it up a little bit. And this smells wonderful. Hear that sizzle? After that has sauteed for 2 minutes, then into that will go our garlic for another 2 minutes. And then this recipe really is in 2 folds because you have to cook your lentils down. So your lentils are going to cook for about 35 minutes, and then you're going to finish it up with your spinach and your zucchini, which won't take long to cook at all. And so we're just going to go ahead and get our lentils cooking, get those done, and then add everything else in and finish up our dish. So this will be like a 2-part video. So these onions are beginning to sweat, as we say, to provide a little bit of moisture. And the carrots are beginning to soften. That's in about 2 minutes, we'll say. And so into that will go our 4 cloves of garlic that have been diced as well. Again, we're going to let this saute for another 2 minutes. And then we're going to add everything in and let it cook for a while. Lentils are really one of those complete proteins, and you don't really need your meat, and they are a really good source of vitamins and nutrients. So this is looking really good. It's going to be really colorful with the carrots and with the beans and the tomatoes, and then we finish it up with the zucchini and the squash, or you can use kale. It just depends on which one you want to use. So after that is sauteed, then we're going to add in our broth. Notice that we asked for a low sodium broth. These tend to have a lot more sodium than we need. So just get a low sodium vegetable broth. So this is really going. Yes. So next we'll go our broth, our tomatoes, our lentils, and all of our seasoning. And then that's going to cook. So I'm going to go ahead and start pouring in our vegetable broth, which is going to bring that down. Okay. And after our vegetable broth goes in our tomatoes, and these are just diced tomatoes, doesn't matter the brand. But also try your best to look for ones that are low sodium or no salt. So in goes our second can of tomatoes. And it's starting to boil again, which we want to happen. And then we're going to add in our lentils. And your lentils, you're going to go through them and pick out any of the bad pieces, anything that may be in there. Sometimes you find, believe it or not, dirt. You may find some rocks. So you want to go through and pick them, and then you want to also rinse them. So these have been rinsed and they've been picked. So in they go. And also we'll go in your dried basil, 1.5 teaspoons. Also we'll go in your thyme and your oregano, 1/2 teaspoon apiece. And then if you wanted to add in salt and pepper, which I really don't choose to do at this time. I may do that at the end, but I'm really not a big fan of salt, but pepper is a different story. And so I'm going to stir that in, and I am going to let it come to a boil, and it's starting to do that now. And once it comes to a boil, I am going to cook it low and slow, a simmer, for about 35 minutes. And at that time, I will come back and I will finish it up with I'm doing spinach, but you could also do kale. The spinach and the zucchini, and then I'm going to plate it up for you and sprinkle just a little bit of Parmesan cheese on top, just to give it a little bit of extra flavor. So we're going to wait for this to come to a boil. Then I'm going to cover it, let it simmer, and then I'm going to come back and I'm going to finish off the dish and show you how wonderful it looks once it's done. So once it comes to a boil, of course, we're going to cover and we're going to let it simmer. So let me go ahead and get my lid. And I see it's coming to a boil. So I'm going to turn it down slightly so that it will not cook too fast. It does need all the time to cook so that the lentils will get done. And so I see it coming to a boil. So I am going to cover it and check my time. And 35 minutes, I will be back with you to show you how this is going to finish up. I'm back, and we have reached our 35-minute cook time. During that time, of course, I have been stirring it occasionally just to be sure that it didn't stick. And of course, it is still simmering down. I have lost a lot of liquid because it has been absorbed from the beans. And it's very hard for you to see, but it's been absorbed by the beans. So at this time, what I am going to do is I am going to add into my pot 2 cups of chopped spinach or kale. I opted for spinach. If you are more of a kale fan, certainly do that. And it's 2 cups packed, and you know that you can get a lot of spinach or kale into a cup, so be sure to pack it in there. It says to chop, but I simply cut mine into ribbons because it's spinach and it's going to wilt and go away. And then I have 1 zucchini that has been diced. So that goes in, and it just continues to simmer for about 10 minutes. So I'm going to stir that in. And this is one of those hearty soups because of the fact that a lot of the broth was absorbed from the lentils. So it's going to be a little bit of a hearty soup. And so the spinach and the zucchini will add some moisture back to that. So we're going to cover, and that is going to simmer for another 10 minutes. Again, it's going to add a little bit more moisture to it. While you were away, I also added just a little bit of salt and pepper. And so this is going to come up to a simmer. Give it time for the spinach and the zucchini to cook. And let me check my time, and I will be back with you in 10 minutes. So I am back, and I have a few minutes to wait before my 10 minutes is up, and then we're going to finish the dish off. So right now in my pot is everything. And I've just added my zucchini and my squash. So it is supposed to simmer for an additional 10 minutes. And we are just a few minutes out. So just to let you know how we can finish this up. As I said before, this is going to be more of a hearty dish because of the lentils that have absorbed a lot of the liquid that's in here. So it's going to be a little bit thick. You can finish it off with some cheese, which I have opted to do, or Parmesan cheese, or you could do any other cheese. This could also be a dish that is a standalone because of course the lentils are complete protein, so there's no need for meat. We have your veggies in here, and so this is a complete meal. So when I open this up, I'm going to dish it out so that you can see all the beautiful colors of everything. And so that's why you add the zucchini and the squash at the end to give a little bit more moisture, and also so that it can retain its shape, and just to let it cook through, just to steam a little bit. So I have 2 minutes, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cut it off because it will still continue to cook. And then at that point in time, I have my ladle ready. I'm going to dish it up, top it off with some Parmesan cheese, and we're going to taste it. Well, I'm going to taste it, and I'm going to see how it is. It is quite beautiful with the carrots and the zucchini and the squash. Of course, I said before, you eat first with your eyes. And so having a dish that is colorful will appeal not only to you visually, but it also will make you want to eat the dish. And so this certainly does fit the bill. And so 1 minute, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take the lid off, and always with the steam away from you. And I always keep a dish towel so that I can put my lid on it and rest it so that it will be off the counter, but it also will be secure without getting scratched. So here we go, in with my ladle, and I'm gonna give it a stir first because it's, like I said, it's hard. I'm gonna give it a stir first, and look at that. So into my bowl. Ooh, looks good. And get a little bit of the juice into my bowl. That looks delicious. And then I'm going to sprinkle just a little bit of Parmesan on top. And this, of course, is optional. Optional, optional, optional. And that is the lentil vegetable soup. Beautiful. I hope you try it. I hope you enjoy it. And I hope to see you back next time.